Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Johan Strada, and today is our fourth day in our 21-day challenge for Awaken Your Spiritual Neurons Empire. And today we're going to do a practical exercise on visualization as a continuation of what we actually did yesterday. But today we're going to actually go a little bit deep into our journey. I want you to remember, just for a brief moment, the past three sessions in which first you brought up to consciousness a situation, you brought up to your awareness what keeps you awake. And then, based on that, we have been actually working in the last three sessions, right? Several aspects of how can you overcome or how can you start healing whatever it is that you need to heal or solve in your life. Yesterday we talked about something really important, which is accepting the fact that the problem is part of your life, right? So it's something that you have to deal with it. There's no other way around. I just want to make a parenthesis. I forgot to actually do that yesterday, but just to remind everyone today that I am actually recording in two cameras today. I'm recording in YouTube, and at the same time, I am recording in Instagram. So you're gonna see my face moving around, right? Uh, Probably the image on YouTube is not as clear as the one in Instagram. The important thing is that you pay attention to the message and you let it absorb, in your mind and heart. So we're going to talk about how to build airplanes in the air. I want you to just imagine for a moment how would it be to possibly be able to build an airplane in the air. And this is just for you to be aware, this is an analogy. This is not something that I mean actually, you know, you're gonna get to do. But I want you to think for a moment, what possibly can it mean to you building an airplane in the air? Okay, I want you to suck uh, into that concept for a moment. After you have um, delivered your situation, your dilemma, your drama, or whatever it is that you're going through into the blue skies, the blue color, or you have surrounded it with, with a blue fog, or you have created a blue apple, whatever you have done yesterday in your challenge to take that situation and surrender it, right? I You're going to notice that I use a lot of analogies, right? But the idea yesterday was precisely, to take that and simply, surrender it to something that is greater than you, something that not only is greater, but at the same time, something that has greater control than you. We need to understand that sometimes there are things that we cannot control, but if we cannot control them, right, we don't have to worry about it. All we have to do is just let them go and surrender them to something that can actually take control. And there is, in fact, something greater in our lives that can solve any possible issues. And that's something for you, to absorb, to ingest in your mind, and at the same time, you know, to be present with that energy. At the end of the day, remember that we have been talking all over, and that's what you're going to see in the book. We're talking about energy. We are energy inside, and everything that we transmit in our brain in terms of brain waves and frequencies is just a transmission of energy in order for us to receive energy as well, right? So we give energy and we receive energy. Um, and one of the aspects of, let's say, practical aspects to do so is basically, breathing. Remember, I actually put also some analogies in which when we breathe in energy, oxygen, we breathe out toxins or carbon dioxide to liberate everything that it's not good for us, right? So the concept of the blue apple was precisely that. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take that situation, right? And what you have surrendered yesterday was not only the experience per se, you surrender the emotion. So now that you have surrendered the emotion, what we're going to do is we're going to bring that situation back into our mindset, and we're going to try to analyze it, right, from a more rational perspective and see what we can do with that. Because the memory of whatever happened in the past is not going to be deleted, it's not going to be taken out. There's no way, I mean, like you can open your brain and take that piece of information and just throw it away. It doesn't happen like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive. But the key here is, uh, what are you going to do with your dilemmas, with the situations that you have been going through, right? So, when I use the analogy of building an airplane in the air, um, I'm trying to say that, there are always ways to make the impossible possible. Uh, you're gonna take a look in the book later on, and you're gonna see that I did kind of like a summary of the history of how planes were invented, and at the same time, what we have today. It, in fact, when we were talking about building something in the air, you're going to find out that there are in fact things that have been already built in the air. So how did people with that uh, sense of intelligence were able to do that? And of course, I mean, they studied, they are mathematicians, physicians, astronomers, well, whatever you want to finding in terms of careers or intelligent paths that have been able to do that. But here we're not talking about you having to be a mathematician or a physician in order to make your dreams come true. Okay. And you may be thinking, well, Johan, I don't know what dreams I have. Well, you probably don't know that you have dreams. You do have dreams. The problem is that your problems have been always in front of you, and that's why you have been blinded to see your dreams, right? So now that you remember, you surrender your issues, and now what we're going to be doing is also we're going to open space to discover new things, to discover new ways of thinking without forgetting about our current experiences or our past experiences, without the emotion, without the pain of what those emotions brought. And what we're going to do is we're going to use what we have. We're going to use the past experience, and we're going to give it a meaning. We're going to give it some sort of vivid significance in such a way that we can make uh, something good out of it, right? Uh, in other words, I mean, we're going to take the lemons and we're going to do lemonade, right? It's pretty much like that. Taking a lemon, doing a lemonade is not impossible. So it's the same as taking your dreams and manifesting them, of course, with some sort of organization or process, but that's why we have our brain to work at that. So uh, there are a couple of things that you need to be aware of when you're actually bringing to consciousness something that you want to do uh, out of your life, right? It doesn't matter what you have passed through on the past. The important thing is that there is always a benefit on whatever you passed back on the days, right? So I want you to think first than anything else is what is the positive intention that exists in whatever it is that you have been going through. Okay, there is always something in benefit, and I'm going to give you an example on that. um, Long time ago, right? um, I used to smoke. I smoked for 30 years. And it's a matter of fact, there is a story in the book in which I'm going to talk about that. I smoked for 30 years, and the positive intention that I found on that was not only that I smoked to maintain my anxiety levels uh, low, or to, to control my anxiety. Later on, I discovered that, smoking was not really to lower my anxiety levels. That was just like a dopamine boost. But in reality, what I was doing is because I needed to have a friend. I needed to have someone who could somehow understand me without judging me. And I had made cigarettes my best friends. That was my positive intention, and that's why I had so much of a hard time quitting, because I was giving value to cigarette the same as if it was giving the value to a friend. I didn't have any friends at that time, or I didn't feel that I had friends. I mean, I did have friends, but I felt that I was lonely, right? So, and the only reason why I was lonely is because of other things in the past that had happened, right? But just for you to understand that my positive intention was that. Now, imagine the following. Imagine a person who shoplifts or steals, right? That person may have a positive intention behind shoplifting. He needs to feed his kids, and that's why he has to do that. As a matter of fact, that is something that um, I did in the past also. So, uh, but there was, of course, a positive intention in that. Not that it justifies it. It's just the positive thing that it was going in my mind with that. And you may ask, well, Johan, that's something that it's bad. So how do you find a positive intention in that, right? We're talking about neural paths and neural maps. So every person has its own reasons and its own uh, ideas and justifications as to why do they do what they do, right? So that is what you want to try to find out in the situation that you are uh, passing through, right? I mean, is the positive intention maybe um, the fact that you remain in that situation and you want to remain in that situation because it's more comfortable, because it hurts less to take actions? I don't know. That's something that you need to actually analyze, and you need to find that out in yourself. You need to check with your own mind what exactly is that you are benefiting from the current situation that you have been passing through. Okay. And this is an analysis that you have to do with cold feet. Remember that you already surrendered the emotion. So now you're taking the experience back and you're using all of your memories, all of your rational or all of your intellect to analyze, to actually make a checklist, a reality checklist as to you know what's the benefit on whatever it is that you have been going through. And uh, it again, it might sound difficult, it might sound impossible to do, uh, but it's not. All you have to do is breathe, put your hand in your belly, breathe, bring oxygen, to your brain, so you can actually do better connections between, your rational thoughts, your emotional thoughts, and come up with possible answers. But breathe, right? And again, here you're building in your mind an airplane in the air. That's what you're doing. You're actually getting out of your body, you're entering into your inner mind, right? To work your neurons, to work your connections, and discover possible answers as to, what can you do with that situation that you're going through, right? Uh, Another thing that you need to take into account is that from now on, you're awakening to a process in which you are being the commander of your thoughts. Okay. That doesn't mean that you're going to hide away, right, from the difficult thoughts, the difficult thinking that you have to do, right? Uh, Building an airplane in the air means that you become your own pilot, and at the same time you become the aircraft. In other words, you become the actor of your whole story, and at the same time, besides being the actor, you become the director of the whole movie, right? So here's what it is, right? At this point in time, you are your own psychologist, you are your own doctor, you are your own lawyer, you are your own engineer, you are your own policeman of your thoughts and your feelings, because all those professions, they already exist in your mind, they already exist in your intellect, for you to what, to make positive judgments, changes, and readjustments in your way of thinking. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking the whole situation, you're taking the drama, you're taking um, your limiting beliefs, and you are gaining control of them, right, by dialoguing in your mind with such uh, limiting beliefs or dilemmas. You're making friends with them. You're telling them, "Come here, let's talk. What's going on?" And that's basically what you should start doing every single day. Start dialoguing. Remember yesterday when we talk about acceptance, right? One of the things that we need to learn to accept is our own weaknesses, right? Not because we are weak, but because those called weaknesses, in reality, they're not weaknesses. They're just opportunities for you to grow, for you to actually get better. That's where you actually get the wisdom. You get the wisdom from uh, the lessons that you learn from your experiences. And when you become vulnerable to your own self, um, what you're actually doing is that you're discovering a bunch of opportunities uh, to resignify those feelings, emotions, and experiences that you have had in the past, and you give them another sense. You give them a new life, right? One of the reasons uh, that I actually decided to write this book and to bring it to life was precisely uh, that. I started building my own airplane in the air by taking my story, right? Surrendering and taking all the emotion out of it, right? Sitting in stillness and silence and just contemplate everything that was going out as part of my own experience of life. And based on that, what I started to do is I started putting all the pieces together while life was going on. You understand? So this is the key on whatever the situation you're passing through is. You're actually resignifying everything that is going on. You're putting the pieces together to understand why did you get into that situation? Why did you get into that dilemma in the first place? What took you there, right? But don't stop, right? To solve your problem first, and then after you have solved the problem, continue with life. It doesn't happen that way. Life continues. The drama of life continues every single day, right? Something that I learned when I was doing analysis was that, you see, I was, um, and I remember there was a time in which I passed through a very serious depression. That was back in 2017, and I had no job, I had no money, and I didn't know what I was going to do. What was I going to do with my life? And when I went to talk about that to my therapist, right, she told me it is okay to be depressed. It is okay, to feel what you're feeling. But remember that there is a limit, and you are the only person who can put the limit as to up until when do you want to feel depressed. And the reason why you have to put that limit is because life goes on. The bills continue coming. You see, the challenges continue coming. So you're gonna have to learn to balance, right? The problems that you have in your head or the issues that you're passing in your life while you're living life. That's why, you see, you build an airplane, you build a whole rational on your big problem, which seems to be big, but in reality, you're going to realize that when you make it, when you bring it into your own perception of awareness, and at the same time, you start rationalizing with a cold feet the whole situation, you start, you know, making your machine here work in order to provide you with answers. And those answers, they come from you, right? Um, One of the things in personal transformation is that uh, you're not only becoming your own pilot, you become your own guru. Based on what? Based on the experiences that you have had, based on the lessons that you learn, and based on the wisdom that you get from your own experiences. In that way, you become the pilot, right, of the airplane. And at the same time, you are the airplane. So you are your own commander. This is what I want you to understand. Um, by the analogy of building airplanes in the air, which is precisely, take control of your situation. Don't leave it to anybody else to solve it for you, because nobody can solve your feelings. Nobody can actually feel what you have felt uh, in the past. This is something that is critical, right? I mean, you may think that other people have to solve the problems that you have had in your life. Guess what? Nobody is going to do that, because everybody lives its own drama. Every single person lives its own pains. Everyone is carrying their own cross. You are carrying your cross, I'm carrying my cross, everybody is carrying its own cross. So you have to learn to somehow, you know uh, take that situation, right, and make it part of yourself. Embrace it instead of like running away from it. Just embrace it. There's a saying that it's another analogy, but it's interesting, like to take into our concept, which is, you know go where your fear is. In other words, wherever you feel that your fear is, whatever you fear to do, that's where your dreams are. That's where your um, light is. That's where you have to run after. If you're afraid of swimming, go swimming. If you're afraid of running faster, right, because you're afraid that you're gonna fall, just let your arms go and just let yourself go and run, right? So those are the things that you have to take into consideration when you accept the things that are intrinsic to you, your problems, your experiences, your situations, your dilemmas, your traumas. They are part of your human experience. They are part of your history. So, what is it that you can actually do with that? That's the important question. Okay. So, I'm going to give you a couple of tips for you to use uh, to build that airplane in the air, to take that situation. First of all, of course, visualize it. Practice visualizing that situation, but at this time, visualize it in such a way that you can see yourself doing something different. If you have passed through a situation, a painful situation, that somebody hurt you, you can start visualizing in your head, right, that you are talking to that person and you are telling that person what you should have told them when the experience passed in the past. But this is something that you're going to do only on your mind. You're not going to go and you're going to attack the person. No, what you're going to do is in your mind, you're going to create a situation in which uh, you're going to talk to that person and you're going to see yourself talking or defending yourself without um, the aggressiveness or the sense of revenge for what they did to you. No, that's not what you're going to do. In your mind, right, you're going to gain the control and the power to dialogue with that situation. But you're going to see yourself, you're going to visualize yourself, you taking control over the situation. That is one of the things that you use in your memories to resignify them. If somebody, if you have a situation that somebody told you that you're a piece of shit, that you're not worth it, what you can actually do is you go into your mind, right? You're vivid, you actually live that experience back again, and you see yourself, right, looking at that person into the eyes and telling that person, no, you're actually wrong. You are being a reflection, right, of yourself. And you're reflecting into me, right? What you are actually feeling. And of course, you're not going to tell that person that in reality. What you're going to do is you're going to do it to yourself in order, right, to gain the consciousness that, you are more powerful, let's say, than your past experience. The past experience, you responded in such a way or you didn't respond. But then in your mind, you created an ideal situation. And when you hang on into that ideal situation, that's what actually helps you to resignify it, right? I'm just giving you examples of visualization. Another thing, always ask yourself a lot of questions about yourself. Ask to yourself not why did the experience from the past happen to you. Ask yourself, how can you create something meaningful about that? Ask your brain things that your brain is going to respond to you. If you ask your brain, why this, why that, why me, right? You're probably going to come up and your brain is going to give you answers, right? That only are going to emphasize negative things about you. And you're going to feed those feelings and you're going to feed those negative thoughts. But when you ask yourself the right questions as to how can you solve, how can you do, how can you improve, your brain goes, mm, you can do this, you can do that, and you start getting opportunities, you start getting answers. Remember, your brain is 100 billion of neurons. That's what your brain is. There are 100 billion approximately of neuron cells in your brain. And guess what? We're talking about that for each one of those brain cells, right? One brain cell makes approximately like 10,000 connections with other cells. So in total, you're making more than a trillion connections. That means trillion opportunities, trillion, 1 trillion, or 100 trillion of opportunities in which you can get answers. That's how powerful your brain is. And this is what you need to understand when we're talking about your brain. We're talking about the most powerful tool that you can actually have, right, in order to come up with not only ideas, but creations, right? So start from what you have. You have a story, okay? Take that story, become the main actor, right? And produce something better out of the story, okay? Now, of course, that requires patience. You have to learn to be patient with yourself. That's something that is not going to happen, from one day to the other one. It's going to happen, you know, gradually. So you have to learn to be patient. The other thing, well, uh, airplanes took time to be built. The space center or the space station that was put into the air, it took years, decades actually to build. And despite there were issues, despite there were a lot of tests done before, a lot of failures, right? People were determined to go to the moon. People were determined to go to the space, right? So you need determination. You need willingness. This is the most important thing, right? You need to be willing to pass through this process. If you're not willing to make the change, if you're not willing to take your story and give it another meaning, you may as well, you know, shut off this video and continue with your life just the way that it has been, right? But you have to find that willingness, right? How hungry are you for change? How hungry are you, to make lemonade out of lemons, Okay. All this is going to help you gain what? Understanding. And that's what I want you to do. Now, we don't have enough time. We're going to continue with this process, but I want the challenge for today that I want you to experience is take your notebook and your piece of paper, take your situation, and um, write down possible ideas as to how can you take your story and make something out of it. Is there someone that may benefit from hearing your story? Is there someone that you can actually share your story with, not with the victimized side, but uh, with the lessons learned? And that's another thing that I want you to write, right? I want you to write what are the lessons that you are learning from the experience that you're passing through? What is it that you are absorbing from that? Stop, and instead of rationalizing emotionally, stop, breathe, right? And ask yourself, what am I learning from this? And write it down, okay? And then the other thing is, what dreams do you have? And if you don't have any dreams, take your story and ask yourself, what can you build out from your story? Okay. That is how you awaken the power and you resignified the power that already exists in your brain. All right. So that's the challenge for today. And I'll see you tomorrow again for series 5. Okay. So have a wonderful, blessed day and go out and build an airplane in the air. Live your life. Do whatever you have to do, but don't forget that the drama of life continues. Okay? So take time, of course, to hydrate yourself, to eat well, maybe to go for an ice cream, maybe to go for a walk while you are constructing and building or rebuilding your situation, right? Allow yourself to gain acceptance and at the same time to create. Be the creator of your own life. Many blessings. I'll see you in the next session.